Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you so much for joining me today for my next installment of Facebook Live and Instagram Live. Really delighted to be here with you all again today. So, I want to take a moment to just thank you for being here. Without your participation, without your willingness to engage in these practices and your curiosity around the practices, I wouldn't be here, obviously. So, yeah, thank you for that because I do enjoy these sessions very, very much. So, I want to talk a little bit about the online program that I'm going to be offering, and really the catalyst for the Facebook Live sessions is is the online meditation program. And this program coming up, we launch on October 1st and it runs to December 21st. The program is entitled Abiding in Kindness, Compassion, Joy, and Equanimity. It's a 12-week immersive online program, and we'll be spending roughly 3 weeks on each of those qualities: kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. The program is offered in two sections to cater to different time zones. Section A meets on Tuesdays and Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And Section B meets on Tuesdays and Saturday evenings from 7:30 to 9 p.m. East Coast time. For more information and to register for the course, please do go visit my website, www.suchsweetthunder.org. And you should find all of the details there. Okay, so a little bit of a frame, perhaps, of today's offering. I'd like to speak a little bit about equanimity, and then I'll offer a guided meditation, and then I'll speak a little bit more about equanimity, and then we'll be done. Just also want to note that I'm addressing both Instagram audiences and Facebook audiences on two different devices, so if you see me shifting back and forth, that's why. So equanimity. It's such an unusual word, right? Most people have very little interaction with this word equanimity. So maybe just a little definition then first. How I'm defining equanimity is the practice of non-judgment. Non-judgment. And it's really this quality of equanimity that allows the other abodes of the heart, kindness, compassion, and joy, to be boundless. To be boundless. Equanimity is what allows us to let go of our judgments about ourselves so that we can more freely offer compassion and kindness and joy to ourselves. Also, the practice of letting go of judgments around others so that we can be more readily available to hold the healing space for those who are in pain, who we might hold prejudices towards. Or equanimity invites us to celebrate the successes of others even if we don't like them. Also is an invitation to be kind and to wish happiness for those who we might disagree with, we might be at odds with, and so forth. So equanimity is the quality of the Brahma Viharas that allows for that boundlessness. Allows for that boundlessness. And so one way of connecting to this quality of non-judgment right away And I'll just offer this, and then we'll probably use these phrases in the meditation as well. So it's simply a phrase, not better than, not worse than, not equal to. Not better than, not worse than, not equal to. And you might just get a feel for that phrase, offering it to your own heart just now. I'm not better than, I'm not worse than, I'm not equal to any other person. Not better than, not worse than, not equal to. Or you might, offer that to yourself around a particular feeling or emotion that might be there. This feeling, this emotion, it's not better than, it's not worse than, it's not equal to any other feeling or emotion that I've ever experienced. And just noticing what happens there. Or you could use that phrase pertaining to the present moment as a whole. This present moment, it's not better than, it's not worse than, it's not equal to any other moment. What do you notice there? And so for me, if I'm offering that phrase to myself, it drops the comparing mind. It allows me to experience myself exactly as I am showing up right now, with all of my, in all of my glaring and glorious humanity. Not better than, not worse than, not equal to. I'm just this, outside of the scope of comparison. Because we're all outside of the scope of comparison, right? So offering myself that phrase, not better than, not worse than, not equal to, it's an invitation to really notice exactly how it is right now. And similarly, when we offer that phrase pertaining to feelings or emotions, not better than, that's sadness. Let's use the example of sadness. The sadness is not better than, it's not worse than, it's not equal to any other emotion I've experienced. And so you might notice in a sense, the armor comes down a little bit, right? We move into experiencing that emotion in a more honest way, right? Because the comparing mind sometimes serves as a buffer, right? I don't want to feel this sadness, so I might start comparing it. Oh yeah, this is pretty bad right now, but last year at this time, that was really tough, right? Or, yeah, I'm feeling really sad, but there's so many other people in the world who have it worse than I do. Very common way of that comparing mind separating us from what we're experiencing. And the portion of that phrase, not better than, not worse than, not equal to, that often brings up quite a bit of questions for people, is the not equal to, right? And we're kind of taught, in our in most of the cultures and societies today, we are taught, that nobody's inherently better or worse than anyone else. But what about the equal to? Right? I thought it was good to see everyone as equal. And I understand where that's coming from. In a world that's replete with discrimination and prejudice, it can be absolutely very helpful to endeavor to see others as equal to ourselves. But in seeing someone as equal, is experiencing ourselves as being equal to someone else, there's still a comparing happening there. Yeah, well, I'm not, I'm a little smarter than them, but maybe they're smarter in this way than I am, and oh, we're equal, right? So there's still this comparing. And so when we let go of even the equal to, then the other person or the other people cease becoming an object in our story. We can more easily recognize their humanity. Right? We're no longer trying to find our placement in relationship to them, or trying to find their placement in relationship to us. Right? We let go of that whole endeavor and simply meet the human being in front of us. So, let's do a little bit of meditating on equanimity. And so in this practice, I'll ring the bell. I'll invite us to connect to the present moment through the experience of sound, sensations of the body, and breath. And then we'll just explore the quality of equanimity in the meditation practice. And we'll do this for maybe 15 to 20 minutes or so. Then we'll come back, I'll do a little bit more talking, and then we'll conclude the session. So, if you're not already, I'd invite us to get into our most comfortable meditation posture, whatever that might mean for you. And you might want to have your back off of the backrest if you're in danger of falling asleep. Generally, the guidance around posture is to take a posture that allows us to stay awake and alert, connected to the present moment, and relaxed at the same time. So in a few moments then, I'll ring the bell and I'll guide us in. So the invitation here is just to arrive into this present moment. And there are many ways of arriving and connecting to the present moment. And for this practice, let's start with the experience of sound. So the invitation here is to simply become a listener of the present moment. And so there might be quiet, subtle sounds, or you might notice loud, obvious sounds. There might be sounds generated by nature, bird songs or crickets chirping, conversation unfolding nearby, or a dog barking in the distance. There might be sounds generated by electronics or appliances, machinery, a gentle hum of an air conditioner or a fan. the occasional car or truck passing by outside. So just listening, not trying to change the sounds or make anything happen. And right away here, we're invited to notice the sounds without judgment. You might offer a phrase here like, these sounds are not better than, not worse than, not equal to any other sounds. It's just this present moment. And so sounds appear and perhaps stay for a while and disappear. And we can remain at rest, simply noticing. And then if the mind is wandering, remember that's very normal. And we could simply label that thinking, thinking, and returning back to hearing, hearing. So we don't need to make the thoughts into a problem or something to struggle against. Just gently noticing and returning back. So while we're here resting and listening to the present moment, the invitation then is to bring awareness to the body. And simply noticing how the body feels in this current posture. Noticing the areas of the body that feel relaxed and calm. Maybe the hands or the feet. The arms might feel relaxed. Noticing too the areas of the body that feel tense. And inviting the tense areas of the body to soften, relax, release, let go. Noticing the areas of the body that are bare to the oxygen, to the air around you. Noticing the temperature of the room against the skin, cool or warm. And noticing the areas of the skin that are contacted by clothing. The texture, soft or smooth or rough. And so we get a full view of the entire body. And perhaps offering a phrase here, this body is not better than, not worse than, it's not equal to any other experience. It's just this human body. These sensations are not better than, not worse than, not equal to any other sensations. It's just this present moment. And while we're noticing the experience of sound and silence, sensations of the body, noticing how the sounds, the silence, the sensations, these require no effort to be known. We can simply rest and notice the ever-changing fields of silence and sound, and sensations of the body. Noticing too if there's any emotions or feelings that might be here, might be present. Maybe there's a touch of sadness or a little bit of a ray of gratitude or joy. Whatever's there for you right now, what's going on in the heart? Can we meet these feelings or emotions in that frame of non-judgment? These feelings, these emotions, they're not better than, not worse than, not equal to any other feelings or emotions. It's just this present moment. And so we rest, noticing the sounds, the silence, the sensations of the body, the breath, any feelings or emotions that might be there. And this is the present moment. This is exactly how it is right now. Not needing to change anything or make anything happen. So the invitation here is to let go of any urge to problem solve. Recognizing that those urges and those problems will probably be here after the practice, if you wish to take them up then. But for now, during the practice, just inviting that problem-solving mind to rest. Simply being in this moment. It's not better than, it's not worse than, it's not equal to any other moment. It's just this fresh, open experience. Resting, resting. So in a few moments' time, we'll begin to shift away from the guided meditation back into a conversational space. And I'll cue that by ringing the bell 3 times. So thank you all for joining me in that practice. And if your eyes are closed, you might just wish to gently open them and start to look around the room, reorient yourself. So that was a little bit of an exploration into that quality of non-judgment, equanimity. And when I was getting ready for this talk yesterday, I sent out an advertisement which contained a poem from the 5th patriarch of Zen. I think it's the 5th patriarch, 3rd patriarch. Oh boy. I have to brush up on my history there. I'll read the poem, and then maybe I'll speak a little bit to it, and then we'll draw our proceedings to a close on that note. So here's the poem. Oh, by the way, this is it's just the first couple of stanzas of a much longer poem called the Faith in Mind Prayer Poem, again from the Zen tradition. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When attraction and aversion are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the dis-ease of the mind. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the dis-ease of the mind. It's one of my favorite works on the topic of equanimity, and it's very, very deep. The whole poem goes on. There's several stanzas in a similar frame there. So let's unpack this a little bit, because I think there's a lot there that can be quite helpful it can be helpful in the practice of equanimity for sure. So the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. And so, that's an extreme statement, and it's worth noting too that this is poetry and meant to be read as poetry. So we're really looking to the feeling that gets elicited from lines like that. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. And so, this is an invitation to look at, our preferences on one hand and how our life is unfolding on the other. And I don't know about you all, but I've noticed that they're very often not the same. Right? And so this is really, I think for me, the first two lines there really speaking to that rub, right? That this great life, it's not really difficult when we can let go of our preferences. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have preferences. But it means that we recognize that our preferences on how life, quote unquote, ought to be and how life is are sometimes quite different. And in that gap is where a lot of our suffering arises. When attraction and aversion are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. So this is really a reference to another teaching from the Buddhist tradition called dependent origination. And so I'll just speak to that a little bit here to get some clarity. In the map of dependent origination, it's really a map of how our habits come into play. This is a very, very gross oversimplification. But so we have contact with the world around us. That contact gives rise to a feeling tone, a hedonic tone, either pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. And that gives rise to an interpretation of attraction or aversion. So here it says when attraction and aversion are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. How do we do that? Is that really possible? And there is life gives birth to pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Every contact we have with our environment gives rise to a quality of something like pleasantness, something like unpleasantness, or something like neutral. And that's really running on a spectrum. It can be, our experiences can land anywhere along that spectrum. And so when we develop a type of sensitivity to that contact, we feel the texture. Let's use sound here. We feel the texture of the sound landing on the eardrum, right? We feel the vibration, the texture of the sound without the word birdsong, right? And we notice that contact gives rise to pleasant. And so when we're really sensitive to that, the whole chain stops there, the whole reactive process. But if I notice the texture of the bird song, that's the contact that lands on the ear, gives rise to a pleasantness. If I'm not aware of that happening, my mind will start, oh, that's a lovely bird song. Oh, yeah, that's a robin. Oh, yeah, I haven't seen a robin here all year. Maybe I'll go in. And then we start to move towards it, grasping, clinging, craving. Right? So this phrase here, when attraction and aversion are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. For me, that's really an invitation to meet the present moment as close to the contact point as we can. The texture of life itself. Right? Getting out of the concepts of life and meeting life as it arises. I'm a little bit thirsty right now, but if I think of the apple juice in front of me, that doesn't quench my thirst, right? That thought is just a concept, right? I actually have to pick up the apple juice and have a sip, and my thirst is quenched. Concept, the experience, are two totally different things. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. So this is really, speaking to Chinese culture, particularly around 5th, 6th century AD, when these teachings were landing in China. There was this belief system that the unity of heaven and earth is most preferred. That's like the idea of modern day heaven, is the unity of heaven and earth. So when we make that smallest distinction, when we fall into, as I was in that example earlier, we fall into pursuit of the pleasant, right? We've made that distinction, attraction and aversion, right? Or likewise, if something arises that I find very unacceptable, pushing against the unpleasant, right? Heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. It's that pursuit of the perfect moment that doesn't exist. The pursuit of the perfect life. Right? If I could just organize everything in such a way that everything's pleasant and there's nothing unpleasant, then I will have arrived. Then I will be happy. Doesn't exist, right? And even if we do manage to get everything organized and lined up exactly so that everything's pleasant, how long does it last? Maybe half an hour. So this is really an invitation to see through that, the falseness of that pursuit, first of all. And to recognize that actually, we are empowered to make the difference, right? Not by arranging the external factors of our life to be pleasing all the time, but to work where we do have some autonomy on our own heart and mind, right? So we develop this sensitivity to the contact so that we can notice attraction and aversion as they arise. And in that noticing, we have a choice, right? It's when we don't notice that they're there and they kind of sweep us away, then we're caught in suffering. If you want to see the truth, then hold no opinions for or against anything. So here, again, an invitation to see how our opinions shade and color our experience of life. Right? How what we think should and shouldn't be happening give rise to aversion or attraction, right? Or indifference, for that matter. And so when we can recognize that the point of contact that gives rise to the pleasantness or the unpleasantness or the neutral, when we can see that process happening, it's very liberating, because now we recognize that the pleasantness, the unpleasantness, it's in here. The neutral, it's in here. It's not etched into the stone of reality the way we often interpret it as being. Right? We say this all the time, right? Oh, that song is such a terrible song. Right? It's almost as if the song notes have etched in it, this is a bad song. Obviously not, because a lot of people are listening to it. It's on the radio and things like that. So we can see very clearly there that the experience is neutral, and it's what we're bringing to the experience that creates the pleasantness, the unpleasantness, or the neutral quality. And once we really know that in an embodied way, there's no basis for craving anymore. Because what we're craving, the pleasantness of what it is that we're craving, is already inside of us. Right? I'm not craving that chocolate bar. I'm craving the pleasant feeling that arises when I think of the chocolate bar. So it's an internal project stimulated by an external contact point. Right? That's really quite important. So we can start to reclaim that power back with these practices of equanimity, recognizing that attraction and aversion stem from our internal experience of pleasant and unpleasant and neutral, not from what's out there. So that's quite helpful, I think. So you wish to see the truth and hold no opinions for or against anything, because our opinions are arising based on that chain reaction stemming from the pleasant, the unpleasant, and the neutral. Right? And again, we start to see and experience life in that way, that we can see life is here, the experience of life unfolding, the actual texture, flavor, contours of life, and then our opinions, our views, and so forth on the other side. And, the more we try to, impose our views and opinions on the texture and experience and contours of life, the more tension there is, the more stress, the more pushing there is. So equanimity is this real invitation to let go of that, to recognize that this is how life is unfolding. This is what I wish was happening. Those aren't different, and that's not bad or wrong. It's just the normal, natural experience of life as it's unfolding. And then we can move forward from there, right? When we have this very clear picture of how it is, right? When we can really recognize, okay, this is the contour and texture and flavor of life, and this is my opinions and views of life. When we can see them as different, experience them as different, we move forward into our life with a much clearer and more wise perspective. So I hope that's helpful. I think I'm going to start to draw our time to a close here. Just to, offer the phrase again: not better than, not worse than, not equal to. Not better than, not worse than, not equal to. And then, when we offer that phrase, sometimes resistances can come up. Yeah, but it's like this. Oh, it should be like that. That's great. Because that's where we see our attachment to our views, our attachment to our opinions. So, once again, we've gone a little bit longer than I'd anticipated, but hey, I hope you enjoyed. I do. I love coming up here and speaking like this about topics that are very close and dear to my heart. Wishing you all a great week. I will probably be back again on Friday for a Q&A session. Oh, that does remind me, if you do have any questions about mindfulness, meditation, or any of the 4 abodes that I've spoken about here, kindness, compassion, joy, or equanimity, any questions at all coming up around any of the topics, please send them in, because I'll be offering the next 2 sessions will be Q&A sessions So yeah, you could consider it an act of generosity if you like. Be really helpful for me. And that allows me to put together a talk that speaks directly to what's coming up for people. And also, if you might have a question that's crystallized in your mind, and other people might have similar questions that haven't yet crystallized. So your offering could be seen as an act of generosity towards those people as well. Okay, so I will ring the bell and close us out. Thank you so much, and see you all next time.